Your father used USAA, so why don't you? Wait. Hi. Welcome in, everybody. This is Taco Talks, episode number, I don't really know at this point because I've pretty much stopped podcasting. But I was talking to my friend Bruno, and he was trying to get me to do podcasts again. There's only so much truth to that. I might be embellishing a conversation. But the fact of the matter is, we did discuss it. And I told him that I don't feel I'm interesting enough to run a podcast by myself because I'm barely entertaining enough to carry a stream by myself. So why not kill two birds with one stone? Let's have a podcast and a stream at the same time that no one will be interested in. So now that we've really sold ourselves and we're really getting the people in there to be like, there's self-deprecation and then there's self-loathing, and I'm not really sure where this falls in between. But welcome into an experimental Taco Talks. I am Adam, your gracious and amiable host. Tonight, today, tomorrow morning, whenever you decide to listen to this, we're just going to be talking about some comic books. I don't even know how long this episode is going to be. I don't suspect it'll be a horribly long episode. This is also the test run of the stream visual format. This is something I put together in I don't know, 10 minutes. It's not something that I put a whole hell of a lot of work into. Thanks to my friend Kate for the beautiful Dr. Taco emblem that you're probably used to. Thanks to Cool Text for letting me put Taco Talks there beside it. Thanks again to my friend Kate for choosing that blue that's in the Dr. Taco stuff. And thanks to Stream Elements for the chat box there, which so far I'm hating. But that's a personal thing. I'll figure out what I want to do at some point. But like I said, this is all the test run. And for those of you listening over the internet, you're not seeing any of this. But if you go to youtube.com/Dr. Taco 1982, you can see this there. Or if you go to twitch.tv/Dr. Taco 1982, you'll see it not live, but it's archived for a little bit. They've done this whole thing now on Twitch where they're going to start getting rid of highlights and stuff like that, and not get rid of it, but they've really trimmed down how much highlights you can have. I think it's 100 hours of highlights. I think it makes sense for them. They're always saying they're not making money, so why not go ahead and just get rid of a gigantic overhead of storage? It makes sense to me. I don't even know how many people actually watch highlights. I keep a handful of them on my channel. I think I'm going to go through more of them and kind of really decide what highlights I want to leave up, because some of them were just made so I could transfer them to YouTube. So the highlights themselves aren't necessarily all that great. Also, shout out to this little flip of hair that no matter what I do, it just kind of wants to chill on top of my headphones. But yeah, today I'm going to look at my phone because that's what I can do. I can do a lot of things. It's my show. It's my channel. It's how we do it. I might answer questions or respond to comments as they pop up in chat. I don't know. It's all experimental. It's all new, all different. It's the equivalent of the new DC series Absolutes. There's a whole line of these DC books that are coming out. DC Comics, Detective Comics, for those of you not in the know, but I think most people would understand what DC Comics are at this point. Also, my chair, doing a lot of spinning. I gotta see if I can figure out how to get it to not spin so much. Oh yeah, by the way, just for the streaming portions, and by streaming I mean podcasting, I have eliminated all the different noises and stuff like that. So I apologize to my usual streaming audience that none of the sounds and stuff are there. I'm sorry. I don't want to have a bunch of random sounds and stuff play while the podcast is going. It's just not going to transfer well to an audio format where I'm just talking and then all of a sudden there's a 3-minute montage of farts. Like it doesn't work. Okay, I'm sorry, but maybe after the podcast portion, well, not maybe after the podcast portion, we'll turn on those sounds and you guys can fart to your heart's content. Body visualizer does enhance anything. For anybody who doesn't know, just take a couple minutes out of your day, go to youtube.com, search body visualizer. Just it's a perfect work of media. But what I was doing was a segue, and I ruined it by talking about other things. The Absolute line of DC Comics. Now I'm getting on board. Not super late. Get ready for a lot of chair spins. I'm not getting on super late, but I'm definitely behind. The ones that I know exist off the top of my head are Batman, Wonder Woman, Martian Manhunter, and The Flash. Green Lantern, I believe, is coming next month. And I want to say there's a Superman one, but I honestly don't know. Your boy's been a little bit out of the comic book collecting game for a little while, so like I haven't been following it as close as I have, but I did go to a not so local comic shop today. It's about a 30-minute drive from my house, if that, but it's the same place where my parents live, not at the comic shop, but the same town. And I figure, like, I can go visit my parents, go say, like, hello, parents and family, I love you so much, you were so wonderful. Well, I must go and pick up my funny books now. That's kind of my plan, at least. But I did sign up for a sub box, and the reason I was talking about the DC Absolute line is because 2 of the books that I added to my pickups for each month are, hopefully the lighting doesn't kill it perfectly, this is Absolute Flash, and that was my finger stuck in the thing, and then we have Absolute Martian Manhunter. I read both of these. Everything I read today, that's part of the, I'm discussing them, so I figured, I should probably read them. Of the 2 Absolute books that I've read, Martian Manhunter and The Flash, I prefer Martian Manhunter. I feel like both number ones, because that's what they are, both number ones are, I feel like they're a little bit ambiguous with where they're going. Not terribly so. But they are reimagining origin stories for characters. Absolute Martian Manhunter, he is Detective John Jones, I believe he is still known as in the book. I think they just call him John a bunch of times, but I may have missed that part. But he is an FBI agent, and apparently he was in an explosion of some kind at the start of the book, and he's trying to figure out if he's got like a concussion or something else that's going on, and he's seeing strange colors and smoke coming out of people, and there's just a lot of very bizarre things that are happening around him and to him. Hi, Moon. And there's a couple of scenes where like he's talking to what I'm assuming is the Martian Manhunter, but even that's kind of veiled. It's always in like random colors. There's a color scheme through the whole book. Let me actually hold out the book again so I can kind of show you. So like this color scheme runs through the whole book. All of these like greens and blues and reds and yellows, they're throughout the book in its entirety. They do a lot of the Martian Manhunter face with the solo red eye and the green. His son makes a clay model family. His son makes himself and his mother normal, and he makes his father in the shape of the Martian Manhunter. Because he also says that people like give him the nickname the Martian because he just seems so out of place. Like he doesn't fit in with everybody else, so he's probably from Mars. So it's I'm trying to figure out right now if he actually is going to be like, is he inhabited by the Martian Manhunter? In regular, origins, Martian Manhunter is the character. He's a shapeshifter. He can be, whoever he wants to be, and he hides as Detective John Jones, when his actual name is like John Johns or something. I'm probably mispronouncing it. Butcher me wherever you want to butcher me. It's fine. Spin. But anytime I say spin, it's because I'm rotating my chair again. I'm sorry for those of you listening. Spin. I thought I turned that off. For those of you at home, I thought I stopped that. Apparently I didn't. That's okay. Enjoy the spin, everyone. But I really enjoyed it. The book itself had a very nostalgic feel to it. It had that like early Vertigo's feel, like Animal Man and Swamp Thing. Like it had a much grittier feel to it than a lot of the more modern comics, and it also had a very psychedelic feel. So if you've ever read like the Sandman books, what is it, Shade, Doom Patrol, like a lot of those Vertigo titles from like the late, I want to say like I'm going to ban that word is what's going to happen. But it has that very weird kind of like crazy look to it, and I think that kind of gives it a very unique look, and I really like it. I was literally going to hurt the next person that did it. This is why it's called experimental, folks. It's unscripted, and I'll do it live. But by the end of the book, he is having like a self-realization moment with the Martian Manhunter entity, and it just kind of makes me immediately want issue 2, and I don't think that's at least till next month. But I really enjoyed it. I'm curious to see how much of it is going to be psychological and how much of it is actually going to be like a detective story, because there is an underlying like case he's looking into, and it feels much more like that case is like secondary to the story as opposed to the, I feel like the main part of the story is him dealing with this possible like split identity type thing. I feel like that's much more it. There's a lot of references to things in the book where he's just like, what makes a person wake up one day and want to be a policeman? What makes them want to wake up and be a criminal? So, there's a lot of stuff like that that's in that book. There's a few different times where that's popped up. And that's why I said like the psychological identity part seems to be a bigger piece of it than the cases he's working on. But I'm still very curious to see how they're going to like intertwine the two, because I feel like they're probably going to. It would be kind of bad writing if they didn't. But so far, really, really enjoying that one. Glad it's on my pull list. The other Absolute, like I said, that I picked up is Absolute Flash. This one's got Wally starting as the Flash. Barry is like a scientist. Barry Allen is a scientist working at like a super secret underground military complex thing, which he just kind of randomly shows Wally in one of the panels, which I kind of thought was a little weird, but whatever. It is what it is. It's cool. But there's apparently some sort of explosion or some sort of experiment that happens, and then Wally gets his powers, and the issue ends by going forward in time a year. It's not necessarily out of hand for a Flash comic to present itself in this manner of like time travel. It's very common for the Flash to be able to travel through time. There's a whole lot of stories in the past with the Flash time traveling and doing stuff like that. I wish it would have been a little more clear. I wish it would have been a little more like just straightforward about what's happening and what we're getting. But again, it's a different form of storytelling. which is kind of what I'm appreciating about the Absolute line so far. It's not as like straightforward in your face. This is what's happening. Like literally, the Flash comic starts with him dealing with the Speed. Then it goes back in time 2 days. Then it's him dealing with the Speed being chased by a bunch of somewhat recognizable villains who I'm assuming are also working at the military compound. There was Captain Cold and Captain Boomerang, and I don't know who the other ones were off the top of my head, but those are definitely two that I recognized immediately. And then it goes back in time again, and one of the times it goes back is it shows him, like I said, going into the lab. There's some sort of explosion. Barry's telling him to get out. He doesn't get out, and then he magically gets powers somehow. I think they're also possibly setting it up for what is it? I'm probably going to get it wrong. Like, it's a Gorilla Grodd, I feel like might be a thing that's going to happen, because there's like some chimps and stuff that have their brains exposed, and I'm assuming they're probably going to become incredibly intelligent. And I know Gorilla Grodd is usually gorilla, but in this case he could be Chimp Grodd. I don't know. That's kind of the cool thing about the Absolute series, is kind of like not a nod, but I feel very much like it's a Ultimates type of thing. Marvel had its Ultimates and DC has its Absolutes. Normally DC would do Elseworlds, and then they really would like switch things up. Some of those were like Justice League The Nail, where Superman landed at an Amish colony. There's the Gotham by Gaslight, where I believe he is Batman is like trying to get Jack the Ripper. I haven't read that one, but I want to say that's what it was. Again, if I get it wrong, you can eviscerate me. It's fine. I'm a grown-ass man. I can take it. Kingdom Come, I think technically is an Elseworld story. It takes place like in the not far-flung future, but in the future where like the more known superheroes are aged, and the new generation of superheroes is like a bunch of assholes. And there comes a thing where they have to, fix the situation. So that's more what I'm used to when it comes to DC doing other versions of characters. So Absolute is kind of like the Ultimates line. And if you don't know what the Ultimates line is, it's pretty much like Absolute, where it's Ultimate Spider-Man. Like, how did Spider-Man happen? We'll say it's been a very long time since I've read the Ultimate Spider-Man, but we'll say like Aunt May died instead of Uncle Ben, like one of the little flips they would do, or they just like the different characters would show up different. Or one of the ones that I really liked was, it was called the Ultimates, which was the Avengers. It was the Avengers team. They were just called the Ultimates. They looked a little bit different. They got their powers a little bit different, stuff like that. But it was a retelling, reimagining of pre-existing characters, and that is what I'm liking about what I have read from the Absolute line so far. I really would like to get, at some point, I'm probably just gonna have to pick it up and trade. I would really like to read Absolute Batman and Absolute Wonder Woman. I've heard nothing but fantastic things about Absolute Batman. I've actually seen I believe it's a 2-issue story arc coming up in Absolute Batman, where they're showing like the reimagined Mr. Freeze. So part of me kind of wants to pick up at least those 2 issues, just to kind of see like what's what. It's written by Scott Snyder, and I loved his not original Batman run, but the New 52 Batman run. I absolutely love that run. The end of it was a bit but through like the Court of Owls and the Death of the Family stuff, like, whew, that was good stuff. Really, really enjoyed it. But yeah, the Absolute Flash and the Absolute Martian Manhunter, they give me some hope in the Absolute line. I'm hoping they keep doing stuff. Like I said, we have an Absolute Green Lantern coming out. I saw the preview I want to say it was in the back of the Absolute Martian Manhunter, and there was a different preview in the Flash where all it said was, it was like no rings, no guardians, just like power or something like that. So I'm very curious to see what a Green Lantern without a ring is. No, I know what it said. It said no rings, no Lantern Corps, just Guardian, or something along that line. That's what it was saying. But and it has a woman. It looks like. So in Before Men Go Crazy, that woman is Green Lantern instead of Hal Jordan. This is also what's known as a segue, not G Fuel. G Fuel for when you have to stream and game. Not sponsored by them. But this is also what's known as a segue. I was drinking from this Naruto G Fuel cup specifically because the other books I picked up, and it only has one more issue, so yay and boo. But I picked up the first 3 issues of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Naruto crossover. There is a part of me that already wants to try and find a first printing of the first issue, because this one here is actually the second printing. The comic book shop that I got it from, they sold out of the first printing twice. So I was able to pick up issues 1, 2, and 3. 2 featuring Donatello and Naruto. Say it however you guys want. And then issue 3 featuring Sasuke, Sakura-chan. When my own bit makes me laugh, I apologize. And then Raphael and Leonardo. The first cover's got pretty much everybody. It's got all the Turtles, Master Splinter, Kakashi, all those cool people. But I've been enjoying it. It is a very, very simple series. Issue 1 starts pretty much like you would expect any of these crossover stories to start. They all fight each other. The 4 Turtles are fighting Team 7 because it's younger Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura. They're being trained still by Kakashi, by Kashi Bar. Kashi Grains brought to you today's stream. But they're still young. They're still learning. The Turtles are still kind of young, technically. They're Splinter is there with them, and they all get into this fight, and then Kakashi recognizes Splinter's like ninjutsu style. It's matching that of Hamato Yoshi, and in this one, again, it's more of the movie / comic book where Splinter is not Hamato Yoshi, but Splinter is like the pet rat of Hamato Yoshi. So he just, kind of randomly walks into the ooze, and that's what they call it in the comic book too. They keep it very simple. They just call it the ooze. What's kind of neat about it, or frustrating depending on how you want to look at it, they do a pretty good job of discussing like the origins of the characters. Nothing like super in depth that like takes away from the series, but enough that if you're a Naruto fan and you don't know about Ninja Turtles, you learn, or if you're a Ninja Turtles fan and you don't know about Naruto, you learn. It feels a little like heavy-handed at times, but I still appreciated it after reading it. There's a lot of little fun scenes in the book. I like that. I was trying to figure out how they were going to have the Ninja Turtles in the Naruto universe or vice versa. In the Naruto series, there's hidden villages. So like Naruto is from the Leaf Village, and then there's the Sand Village, and there's all these other different types of villages. Well, the Ninja Turtles are from the Big Apple Village. So it's like this scaled down version of New York City. The Statue of Liberty is there. There's some really neat scenes where they're like showing them Big Apple Village. They go get pizza, of course. The fights are pretty fun. By the 3rd issue, Shredder has captured April and Splinter and is using the ooze to create new and horrible things, and possibly using the cream or the clear on himself. But I like a lot of it so far. The presentation of it is pretty good. They use a blur effect a little heavy. It's during like the action scenes like that, but I feel like it does take away from some of the art inside of the book. But I especially enjoyed in the third issue where they're fighting the mutated foot soldiers, and like each person is kind of like paired off with somebody. It could be the second issue. I think I'm relatively sure it's the third. I apologize. But they all come up with these like kind of like mishmashed things from both the Naruto world and the Ninja Turtle world. So I think it's really kind of cool that they do that. Like they did Kakashi and Leonardo are fighting, and Kakashi fires up the Chidori, and Leonardo like cuts through with his katanas, and they yell out like lightning katana when they do it. It was just like it's cool. It gives that little anime touch and gives something that like the characters are doing together. The other thing that I really liked, and it's just really little stuff that like if you're a fan of one or the other, like you might notice it. It's kind of neat. When they're explaining the Hamato clan, they're showing Orokosaki, you know, he wanted to learn and become ninja, and then he becomes bad guy. And he has the Big Apple ninja headband, but by the time he's like betrayed them and he's leaving, he's got the line drawn through the headband like they do when they leave and betray their village. So I thought that was just a very simple but very nice thing that they added in. You know, not necessarily a lot of Ninja Turtle fans may notice that, but I think like Naruto fans would notice that. So it's like one of the little things that I saw in it that I really, really liked. Like I said, unfortunately, there is only one more issue. I don't know if we can consider that unfortunate, really. It is a fun series. It probably could have been told in 3 issues, but I'm fine with the 4th one because we are getting a fight with Super Shredder in the 4th issue. So it'll be cool to see Kevin Nash again. But if you understand that, good for you. It's fun. I think it's more one of those books that you might want to pick up in a trade paperback form. I don't perceive this being any sort of amazingly valuable book that each one is going to be like worth its weight in gold. The first print of the first issue, the regular cover, because each one of these books has like 4 or 5 variants, like each book. It's a little silly. I kind of want to pick one up because I want a first printing, like I said when I started talking about these, and I've already looked at it, and one of the covers I found, like after buying it and then the shipping, I think it was going to be around $15 for the book. But for like the regular cover A, I've already seen it going for like $25 to $30, and I'm like, I've already got the first issue. I don't really need an expensive one, but if I can just get like a cheap variant first printing, like I'll be happy. Or I can wait till it hits the dollar bins sometime in the future. I don't know. It's going to be one of those two things. You know what I mean? But that is for right now what I've got. I do have another book that I'll be picking up starting in May. They're relaunching, or they're launching again. I don't really know how to describe it properly. A Mega Man comic. It's going to be coming from Udon. I think it's Udon Press, but it's called Udon. They did a lot of Capcom series. I know their biggest one was a Street Fighter series. But they're doing a Mega Man series. So I don't know anything about it. I just knew that it was a Mega Man book, so I was immediately interested. They're going to be doing a free comic book day of the Mega Man book, so it's going to be like issue 0, I guess, because issue 1 comes out in May, the same month as free comic book day. May 3rd, I want to say, is comic book day. It's the first Saturday in May, which is indeed May 3rd. So if you have a local comic shop, you can go check them out. So maybe they're participating in Free Comic Book Day. Maybe they are not. But you've got time to look. We're almost in April. God, that is 30 days, half September, April, June, and November. So we've got a couple more days of March. But it's kind of crazy that March has just flown by for me. I've spent a majority of my time working. My wife has had a new work schedule, so it's been a little weird in the house. She's been going to bed at like 6 and 7 o'clock in the evening because she's getting up at like 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning to be at work. So our time schedule in the house has become a little weird. I've been trying to reorganize my room. You can kind of see that in the stream a little bit. We got some wires on the floor. We got some semi-empty shelves there behind me with all the anime figures, the comic books on the wall. It's because I recently got a new desk, and I'm loving it so far. I need to make sure I treat it with love and respect. Right now, it is being treated with garbage and stuff. But I'm hoping to get that cleared out. If not this weekend, soon. My wife was very kind and bought me this mesh cording that goes around wires. You like open up the mesh and you put the wires on the inside, and then the mesh goes back around. It contains the wires, and I'm hoping that'll help me a little bit with my cable management that I have, because it is an absolute disaster under my desk. So I'm hoping that'll help. And I'm trying to add lighting for my streaming. I actually have the LED strip going right now. It doesn't add a ton, but it actually does add some. I got to figure out where I'm going to put my actual like key lights I got recently, so we're going to see how that goes. I've played with the camera and it seems to be working better today. I'm pretty happy about that. I got a Razer Kio, I think it's called. And ever since I've bought this thing for streaming, I've had nothing but desync issues. And I don't know if it's an OBS issue or if it is a Razer issue. I don't know. But today, for whatever reason, it seems to be working absolutely fantastic. And if you want to see the camera working fantastic, you're going to go to YouTube and Twitch and look up Dr. Taco 1982. But that's an aside. The other thing that I've been up to that's been probably taking up most of my time has been reselling. I'm one of those scumbags that goes out and buys stuff and then resells it on the internet. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm trying to be safe with it, and by that I mean I have a tendency to be able to like hyper focus on stuff, and reselling is definitely becoming a hyper focus, and I just have to be very careful with not overspending, or making sure that what I'm purchasing I've got at least a relatively good chance of selling. And I think I've been doing a pretty good job of that. Today I actually went out to a flea market. I was waiting for the comic book shop to open, so I decided, hey, I'll go to the flea market, kill some time, and I only found two things. Only cost me $2, but I found a DVD, which I have already in the poly. You can see the Trials Fusion. It's just been sitting back there. But I found a DVD that I thought was really, really cool. I keep finding these like weird DVDs and stuff. But I found a DVD of Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game Duel Master's Guide. So it's literally just a DVD of the rules to the trading card game. Part of me really wants to watch it just so I can maybe learn how to play the game. But part of me also really doesn't care. Like, I'm not going to play Yu-Gi-Oh! I have tried to learn Yu-Gi-Oh! Like 3 or 4 times. To me, it is one of the most confusing card games I have ever seen. Maybe it's just because I'm smooth-brained. I don't know. Yu-Gi-Oh! Just does not work in my brain. There's times where I struggle with Pokemon, and that's pretty simplistic, especially based on how much Magic I've played. You'd think being semi-experienced with Magic, a lot of these other games would just kind of come naturally. No, some of them are just designed so differently in my mind that they're just awfully confusing to me. But the other thing I did pick up was Trials Fusion for the PS4. I got both of those $1 each. So basically, whatever they sell for, it's gonna pretty much be a straight up profit, and that's the addiction. That's what brings you in. You want to find it cheap and sell it high. Buy low, sell high. If you've ever seen trading places, you'll understand or if you just buy stocks, you'll understand that too. Natural pauses so I can get drinks of water. But yeah, that's what's been taking up a lot of my time. I thought, let's try and do a podcast today. This is unscripted. I went into it blind. I hope it was interesting, because honestly, I don't really have a whole heck of a lot left to say now. I covered the comic book stuff. I talked about the reselling a little bit, which is all I really wanted to touch on it. This was the outline in my noggin. There wasn't a lot of stuff that I necessarily wanted to hit. I just kind of wanted to talk about the comic books today, and just talk about my semi rebutting of passion for comic books. I'm very excited that I have a pull list again. Hopefully it's going to stay cheap. I mean, like I said, Ninja Turtles only has one more comic. And I only have 3 books on my pull list, which are Flash, Martian Manhunter, and Ninja Turtles. So after next month, it's going to be lower already. So I kind of have an idea of, I only want to spend $20 to $25 a month on comics. I don't really want to start getting giant piles of comic books. Depending on how much I like Absolute Flash and Martian Manhunter, I might collect, maybe the first couple of story arcs and then bail on them. Maybe I like them and I get a full run of them. I don't know right now. But that's kind of the fun thing about the comic books. I was very excited actually that they did have more of the Absolute Flash #1s, because I thought when I didn't see anywhere, I might not be able to get one, but I did, so I'm happy. So yeah, I walked out of the comic book shop today with everything I was looking for, and if this is a guy looking to wrap up a podcast, he's doing an awful job, because it's circular. It's circular is what's happening right now. But yeah, I think that is it. I think that's gonna wrap it up. It's a shorty. I mean, 40 minutes. It's kind of short. When I edit the audio, it might be a little shorter. I don't know. I just really don't know. He doesn't know how to end streams. He doesn't know how to end podcasts. That's what he's going to be known for, not knowing when to finish. Ask all of my lovers. No, strike that from the record. Strike that one. But no, thank you guys for coming to the podcast. Thank you, listeners at home, for downloading the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you gave it more than a minute, because when you look at your analytics and your statistics, and you look at your average view and listen duration, and it drops off after that first minute, it's like a dagger. It's a dagger in the heart. But I don't know. Maybe I'll have a thirsty audience waiting and shocked when there's a new episode uploaded to all of your favorite podcast locations. I used to do it through, I think it was called Anchor, but Anchor got bought by Spotify, so technically Taco Talks comes out on Spotify, and then it's distributed out from that point. But I'm relatively sure it's on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and at least Spotify Podcasts. And then of course it'll be here on Twitch for a little bit, and I'll upload it to YouTube as well. So you got plenty of options. If you want to listen to our last most recent episode, I think it was 2 years ago at this point. It was a Father's Day episode that I did with my buddy Bruno. So it's come full circle. This episode was because of Bruno, and my Priest episode featured Bruno. So, circle of life. Hakuna Matata. I'm not watching any Disney live action remakes of cartoons. Enjoy Mufasa. It's on Disney Plus. I think that's it. I think that's a good place to stop. So thanks for listening. Take care of one another, and remember, everybody, to keep it classy and a little bit gassy.